joining us today on Too Haute to Handle. I'm Haute, your host for today's episode. Now today we're going to do something that really we should have done from the beginning because it's so essential to so much cooking. Today we're going to learn to make homemade chicken stock. It really is essential because honestly, a chicken stock, if you're serious about cooking in the kitchen and making delicious recipes, chicken stock is like the mother of all ingredients. It goes so well in so many dishes, and you'll use it all the time and save a lot of money when you make it by yourself. So really, it's the start of it all. So let's begin. Alright, now if we're going to do a chicken stock, the only way to get to that stock is through a chicken. Now I've done one episode before where I've showed how to cut up a whole chicken, but in case you missed that, here it is, a quick review again. And I'll be using this for several different recipes, but the carcass and the leftover cutoffs that we normally don't use in a presentation on the plate are what we're going to use to make that stock. Anyway, for the rest of the chicken, the first place to start is by these wings. Alright? Now, we're going to let gravity do most of the work. This chicken has some weight to it, and we want to let the weight pull it apart. So the first thing I would do is get one of these wings, crank it around, hold it up, again letting the chicken's weight and the gravity do it, and right at the part where it attaches there, just place your cut, and you can pop it and see where the end of that bone comes out. So that's right where your knife goes, right in there. Do it on the other side too. Again, hold it up, letting the weight of the chicken help you, and let gravity be your friend. Put that right in there. Pop the joint, see where it comes out, and you're off. 2 wings down. Now the legs. Pierce this little piece of skin there. And again, what you want to do is take this joint away from that hip bone. So this is a thigh bone here. Hold it, let the chicken weight help you, and pop. You'll see this bone, the thigh bone, come right out of that joint there. And again, hold it up so that the weight of the chicken helps you, and it's a really simple matter to just slide your knife right through there, and you've got leg and thigh right there. Moving on to the other side, do the same thing, just split that skin. I'll give you a guide here. So we just want to put your finger underneath that, find where that joint is, and pop it out, and it comes right away. And again, gravity, it's all about gravity. Hold it up, let the weight of the chicken do that work for you, and your knife slides through just like butter. There's another leg and thigh combination. Now your breasts here, I'm going to do boneless, skinless, so I'm going to take the skin off. Just slide your fingers up underneath it, and you can pull it right off. A little bit slippery, but not too bad. Now, the thing is, as I've been saying over and over again, what we're after today is chicken stock. So we're going to use all this stuff that normally comes off the chicken to make the stock, and that includes that big wad of skin. So I put it right over in my bowl here, and we can trim off the rest of it there. This is essential to making that stock. But first things first, back to the two breasts here. Now to cut them, nature has provided a guideline. See this line of fat right here through there? This is where the rib cage is under here, and where the rib cage ends, and that's the perfect guide as to where to cut. Now I'll take a stronger knife and kind of pierce through those, because you've got to break through those little thin ribs, and then turn the knife and follow that line of fat right to the end there, and you have essentially separated that side of the breast from the back and ribs. Now on the other side, it's the very same thing, the same line of fat right through there, right there, and then follow it on around just like that. So now you've got your big 2 chicken breast here on the chicken breast bone, and here is the back and the hip. So what we're going to do is just Again, pop it till you hear it snap. There's the other end of that wishbone I was looking for. And you got nothing in your way here, basically. It's just a free cut. And this is also going in our bowl. That's the back. The things that we're going to make the chicken stock with. Now for the breast, to take them off, we'll go back to that fillet knife again. And there's a kind of a keel bone. It's not really a bone, it's more like a cartridge that runs right down the middle of that breast. So to take it off, we're just going to take a sharp knife and go straight in, straight down. And stay as close to that bone as you can. And again, with the gravity, I'm going to hold it up and just make small little cuts as close to the bone as you can get it. And this breast will just peel right off. Keel bone there. And this other bone here. There you go. And then this looser piece is the closer to the backbone. That's the tenderloin. And there is your breast. I got hung up a little bit because that part of that wing bone was cut a little too close. But essentially there it is. Your nice chicken breast. You take off these trimmings of fat and whatever. Again, don't throw them away. They're going to go in the bowl for the stock. Then back to our meat. The other breast that's still attached to the bone, the very same way. That blade right down. That backbone, stay close to the bone until it just peel it off. Short little cuts. Make it come right away from that bone. And there we have that keel bone and part of the ribs. And that's the last that's for the stock there. And again, with these parts, just trim it up. Take off any gristle, any bits of fat, and that's going to go right into our bowl for the stock as well. You might be thinking, oh my god, that stock is going to be horrible. All it is gristle and fat. Well, no, we'll get a lot more out of there. That's another tenderloin off the back of the breast. So, we have got our show basically, our parts basically lined out. Your two breasts, leg and thigh, and your wings. Now, there are more parts of it that are going into our stock pot. For example, this little tip of the wing has basically no meat, no edible looking parts that you want on your plate, so it's just easiest to take it right off into the bowl for the stock. And then every wing there. And again, this wing tip serves no purpose, so just off and into the stock. It's great. It's full of connective tissues that will add some gelatin quality to what we're doing. Now, for the leg and thigh, I'm going to do a boneless, skinless preparation again, so I'll just peel back that skin off of the thigh there, and it should roll right on down the leg. There we go. Into the stock bowl. Now to cut a piece of thigh away from the leg, nature gives us the same kind of road map. If you look at it from where the joint comes together, where it bends, right on top there, there is another line of fat that goes right there, which shows you exactly where that joint is. So you can just put your knife right through it, and you have your separation, your leg and the thigh. Do the same for the other. Just get your hands under that skin. Peels right off. Pull it down. There we go. And again, we're looking where that joint bends. And go from that side. See that line of fat, and you can also feel it with your fingers in there. That's where that joint is happening right there, and that's where we're gonna take it apart. Just straight through. There. Again, you can trim these off. Put that all in the stock pot. There's your other leg and the other thigh, and some tenderloins here. Now I've just got those on a cooling rack over a pan. Now, in a future episode, I'm going to be using these chicken thighs in the boneless, skinless, so I'm just going to go ahead and bone them out right now, show you how that's done. Trim off some fat there with your flexible boning knife. You can see the bone here at the beginning and the end. Just cut straight along the top of the bone, and the meat will fall away, and make short little cuts all around it. So you can slide your knife under there, pull it out like that, and slide your knife under there, pull that off, and there's your bone out. That too goes into the stock pot. And then your thigh there, you're just left with some gristly bits on the end here that you want to trim off. But the rest of that is nice dark meat, just waiting for your next command. Alright, so that's the chicken now. The real treasure here is what's in the bowl, because what we're doing is chicken stock. And to build that stock, we're doing this. This is one chicken. I've got 3 more that I've saved. Every time I do a chicken, I save this and freeze it. I will add this to the other 3 chickens, so 4 chickens in the pot, or 4 cutoffs of chicken in the pot to start our stock. And that is where it all begins. Alright, now we have a big stock pot on the stove, and it's about halfway full of water. It's just cold water, and I'm just turning on the heat now to full. Now, the first thing I'll put into that water is a few big pinches of salt. This is kosher salt. You use whatever kind floats your boat. But then into that, we add all these parts of the chicken that we had previously cut off in our disassembling of it. See, all the cut-offs, the bones, the skin, the back. Just let it pop right in there. Now, following those that we just cut up are these frozen. I've taken out of the freezer. This is 3 more chicken remains that are now joining the pot. So I've got the cutoffs of 4 chickens altogether. Now, this is pretty frozen solid, and it'll take a while to relax and fall apart, but that's fine. We'll just let it slowly come up to temperature. Okay, now back to the same pot. We've had this on very, very low heat until all that stuff, that carcasses that were frozen together, have fallen apart. There are the various bits and pieces in the pan. Now, as it goes on cooking for a little while, you will notice some extraneous stuff rising to the top. It's, it'll look a little bit like scum. It's nothing bad. It's just strings of protein that have kind of clumped together in the heat. And we just want to take a few of those out as we can. It kind of collects around the edge there. Makes a foam at first, and if you don't catch the foam right away, it turns into a little more solid clumps. And again, it's nothing, it's just protein. It's perfectly fine in there, but the reason I take it out is because if you leave it in there, it will tend to make your stock kind of cloudy and not a clear broth that you like. So, now, this is jokingly at this point what is known as garbage soup, or actually it will be. And that's kind of a facetious name, but you throw everything in here but the kitchen sink. I've already got in here, you can see that's the skin of an onion. Basically all these things that you cut away when you're preparing a recipe, like if you're making vegetables, you take away the brown skin and the root and the blossom end off of the onions, just use the stuff that's on the inside. And same with tomatoes or carrots or garlic, just so many vegetables that you use in cooking, you cut away part of it and never see it again. Well, I always say, as you'll watch me over and over and over, I always say keep that stuff, save it, because it can go into the stock. And this is exactly what I mean. In these little trays, they just came out of the freezer, and they hold cutoffs. Cutoffs of recipes before that I did not throw away. I said save them for the stock. Well, this is the stock, and now is the time. And this little tub, these are just the outer skins of shallots. And now they've all been washed, they've all been cleaned. They're just not what we're used to seeing in our bowl and our plate. And we're going to put them in because they bring so much color, richness, and depth to the broth, not to mention their flavor of shallots. And we've got pieces of celery root, that tough part that you normally cut away that is not so appealing at the table. Put it in because it's just loaded with flavor. Tops of carrots, the bottom ends of carrots, the pointed ends of a garlic piece. All of that is going to enrich and enhance the sauce. Here is just the stalk of a celery when I broke off the florets that I was making for a dish. I saved that stalk because I knew this day would come, and then it goes. And I have something else, more onion, more celery. Pardon me, I don't want to block the scene. There's another whole, basically the root part of the celery that I've just kept, that has been in the freezer since the last time I made something with celery, coming for this day. And there it is. Now, this might look kind of crazy if you've never seen stock prepared before, and you might be thinking, oh my god, it is garbage soup, you're throwing the garbage in there. Well, in a way that might be true. It's the parts that you don't always eat, but just because they're not pretty doesn't make them any less flavorful. Every bit of stuff we put in here at this point is just so chock full of flavor and will add so much to the broth. Now every bit of this is all coming out. Every solid piece of vegetable matter or chicken or meat or bone or connective material, it's all coming out of here. There's nothing going to be left but the juices that get extracted from these wonderful ingredients. Flavor. Now if you're going to put in any herbs and spices, and at this point you can be forgiven for putting in some dry herbs, like there's a little bit of thyme, and thyme is one of the classic flavorings of chicken the world over, along with a bit of dried marjoram. Sprinkle some of that on the top. And it's good to put these dried ingredients in now, and particularly while the fat is still in there, because a lot of these herbs, the secret to their flavor and transmitting their flavor is through their oils. Their oils hold the essence of their flavor and the aroma, and so the chicken fat in there is also an oil, and these oil-soluble flavors mix with that chicken fat while it's slowly simmering, and it helps to transmit their flavors all the way through the entire stock. Alright, so now we're waiting for this just to come back up to heat, because these vegetable bits that I've just thrown in there were straight out of the freezer, so they were really like throwing chunks of ice into the soup. But resist the temptation to turn it up. You can raise the heat level just a little bit to get it back to the boil, but watch it carefully, because once it starts bubbling, you want to make sure you regulate your temperature very carefully at that point. You don't want the water moving enough that it's rolling or churning or really moving the ingredients around. Just a few bubbles popping up here and there, like a slow simmer is all you want. Alright, that's had a chance to come back up to temperature. And now this is exactly what you want. It's boiling but not rolling boiling. You can see just little areas of where bubbles are coming up through. And as they come through, you notice it's not pushing things out of the way or causing a lot of turnover in the pot. Just bubbling up. In fact, I might turn it down even just a smidge more. And now at this point, we can add another ingredient. I've got some bay leaves, and I think Yeah, these are fairly good size, so maybe one big one and kind of a half of another one there. That should be lovely, and we're ready to go. And at this point, there's nothing else to do but wait. You know, go do whatever you do. Watch TV, do laundry, play with the kids. Check back in every now and then, because this obviously does evaporate a little bit. So just have some water on standby and top it back up as you need to. In fact, I'm going to add just a little bit more to get started with. But the only thing you have to do is keep an eye and make sure it doesn't get much past this boiling state, where you just have a couple of little areas where you see bubbles coming up through. And otherwise, you're good. Come back in 6 to 8 hours, and we'll get on with the next steps. Okay, now for convenience sake, I've transferred the chicken stock back into this bowl once more. And my gosh, the color is so nice and rich. It's very clear, not cloudy at all. Now this is still very hot. And the thing is, we have to get it cooled down rather quickly so we can keep it into a safe zone so the bacteria doesn't grow. And that means getting it below 40 degrees pretty quickly. Now I've put this into this bowl because it's not as tall as the stock pot and it can fit in between the shelves in my refrigerator. But we can't just put that in there right now, because if we do, it'll take a very long time to cool down and it'll make the milk and cheese hot in the process, and who wants that? So what I've actually done to speed along the process is I've got some ice packs that generally live in the freezer, and they're frozen. I've just carefully washed them off, and I'm actually going to place them right into that chicken stock. And this will help drop that temperature very quickly. And a little third one. And of course we'll wash these off very carefully once we finish, but we need to get that so it's not blazing hot. It needs to actually be cool before it goes into the refrigerator. Now I'm going to put this in the refrigerator overnight. Of course I'll take these out first, but the point of putting them in the refrigerator overnight is because all the fat that's in there is going to rise to the top, and in the cool of the refrigerator it will solidify. The liquid underneath will be like a semi-jello, kind of shaky like that, but the fat on top will solidify where you can just break it around the edge with a spoon and peel it back and pretty much lift it all out in large pieces, so that you're leaving the stock below essentially fat-free. Now you can save that fat. People have been doing it for centuries. They call it schmaltz, the chicken schmaltz. People use it as a schmear on their bagels, or whatever they're going to smear it on, or use it as cooking oil, which is incredibly flavorful. But we can get it out of the stock, and that's the way, by refrigerating it first. So we're going to let this cool for a bit. I'll take out those ice packs, and then we'll set it in the fridge overnight and show you what it looks like tomorrow. Okay, so this chicken stock has been in the refrigerator overnight, and as I said, the fat has risen up to the top and the stock below is turned kind of gelatinous. Now at this point we want to take out this fat. It is useful to us in other applications, but not so much in the stock. So I just take a spoon and largely peel it back like this. It's just kind of skimming on top of that gelatin, so make sure you get all around the edge of the bowl. Pull it off, so we want to get most of it out of there in one fell swoop. And this is a great sign that stock beneath is shaking like jelly, so that means we have done it right. And as you will see, this will get out virtually 99% of the fat. I just have a little saucepan over here to scoop it into, and we'll get it right out. You will get some stock with it, but that's okay. We're going to cook that right off. And it couldn't be easier. The fat just comes right straight out. Chicken fat schmaltz, as it's known in some parts by some people. And just take your time, go slowly with it, and you will get it pretty much all out of there, leaving you with nothing but flavorful, rich, delicious stock that you can use in hundreds, if not thousands, of different recipes. Chicken stock, as I said, it is the mother of all ingredients. And now you see how it's done. Now all that's left is to portion it up. Okay, now after we've gotten all the fat taken off of that stock, the next thing we'll do is just portion it out. Now if you're going to make a great big pot of soup right now, this would be wonderful to use all of it to start that soup as a incredibly flavorful basis, but I'm not doing that right now, so I'm going to portion this out to use for recipes in the future. And the beautiful thing about this is it freezes wonderfully. So I have about a 1 cup ladle, well, it's just slightly less than 1 cup, and I will just put about 2 cups into each container. Just slightly a little bit more. There we go. And then those will pop into the freezer, and you can save them, pull them out, thaw them as necessary. Those are 2 cups. Now this is a little bit larger container. This I will probably keep in the refrigerator unfrozen, because I'll use it right away in the next day or so for a couple of different recipes that I'm doing. But this is already cooling off. It's gelatinous at refrigerator temperature, and then tends to get more liquid at room temperature. But that's it. It's perfect. Use it. Try it. Make it. You'll be glad you did, because seriously, if you want to be anything in the kitchen, anywhere close to self-sufficient and creating great food and great recipes, here's your wonderful starting place. Homemade chicken stock can't be beat. And so there you have it, all portioned out. I have some 2-cup portions, some 4-cup portions, but altogether with that little exercise we get 16 cups of homemade, virtually fat-free chicken stock. 16 cups, that's a gallon, which basically costs you nothing but saving some chicken scraps instead of throwing them away, and a little bit of time on the stove. Otherwise, this is a great beginning for literally thousands of meals, and if you're a regular watcher of this program, you'll see it used time and time again. Okay, so that's it. Chicken stock. From raw chicken to stock to schmaltz you can save. for another day. You have the basis of an untold amount of recipes if you master this skill. Master it, learn it. It's so easy, so delicious, so flavorful, and will add tremendously to your cuisine and what you put on the table for your friends and family. So that's it. Be sure and join us next week. And if you like what you've seen, do us a favor. Click like, or better yet, click share. Share the video with your friends. So that's it. Join us next time on Too Haute to Handle and see what's cooking.